Good morning. How are you this morning? Hope you're all right. And you're raring to go. I've just spotted some of my lines haven't come out as dark as I wanted, so I'm just going to sketch those out. Hope you had a good weekend so far. I'm not very footbally, so I won't mention tonight's match. But there could be a lot of people having time off tomorrow. I imagine. So as you can see, I've done this in a portrait fashion, usually with square imaged landscapes. Oh yeah, Janet, I will do a portrait version because I don't really know what's going on to the left or to the right, but I can kind of guess sky. So I always give myself a bit more sky when I do pictures like this. Oh, birds. Do you know what? I knew I'd forgotten to click something. Let's get this on. Let's get some bird song on. Quite a limited palette today as well. I don't want it to be a stressful painting because it's Sunday morning. We don't want a bit of stress on a Sunday morning. Not this Sunday morning. I want a nice calm one. I've actually got some nice Sunday classes. Next month is a roe deer in a field, which is lovely. And it's actually looking like an alright day, isn't it? I've already managed to do one load of washing and the other one, another load's in. So that's good. I'll be getting the vacuum cleaner out as soon as the class finishes. I'm in the mood to try and tidy up. It's a bit of a mess in here. My house is like a 1940s cottage. And working from home, I haven't got any space. And I've still got a lot of boxes here that should now be at the shop, but I haven't really got any space there either. I've got boxes of wood for the fireplace that I can't put outside because I haven't got a garden. And I'm trying to save money on the heating, so I've been gifted lots of wood. So I've got 3 big banana boxes of wood just stuck in the dining room. So it's a bit of a mess. It's a messy house. The shop's a mess. Everywhere's a mess. I hope it's not just me that's struggling with trying to get normality back. I'm really struggling. I was really clean and tidy during the first lockdown. I kept on top of everything, but then as the months have rolled by, I've let myself down a bit, you know. Never mind. The sun's just come out here, funnily enough, Janet. And the sky is almost like the sky that we've got in the photograph. So I'll give you till what time? 1:45 to draw. I've given my figures a bit of a... Oh, do you know what I'm going to draw in? I'm going to draw a bit of a dotted line where the waves come. Oh, hello, Jackie. Jackie's the Artery Art Shop if she comments. If I comment on here, it also comes up as the Artery Art Shop. But are you going to do some painting this morning with us, Jackie? I was just having a watch. So I've just drawn a dotted line because what I don't want it to do, I don't want these men, or they look like men, or it might be a man and a woman really dressed up in winter gear. I don't want it to look like they're drowning in the sea, so we want sea, wet sand. That's what we're after today. Got my cup of tea. I've got a pot of tea on the go this morning. Do you know, I've only ever lived in one house that had a garage, and that's exactly what happened. It wasn't actually. Do you know what? The garage wasn't really wide enough for the car. It was wide enough for the car, but not wide enough to get out. So we never bothered. And then I just filled it. It's easy to fill, isn't it, with stuff? I'm really lucky here. I don't have an attic and I don't have a shed. I do have a spare room. Dangerous. But you know, owning a shop, it's a weird thing, and people that don't own a shop just don't realise how much stuff you need because you get given displays or you buy display stuff and stands, and when that finishes, you can't. That some of the display stands are like 200, £300 to buy in, so you can't get rid of them. But then where do you keep them? Where do you keep them all? The shop I grew up working in was like 300 years old, and it was the original town library, and then it morphed into a stationers and booksellers, then it morphed into a stationers, booksellers, art supplies, then newsagents and suites, then gallery as well on top, and all of this kind of thing. And we had a whole floor dedicated to stuff. 2 rooms actually, lined with Dexian shelving, full of stands and fabrics and displays. It was lovely, it really was. So very limited palette this morning of ultramarine, cerulean, orthalo, cadmium yellow and cadmium red. And you may have seen the Facebook post yesterday that we are looking, I've started branching out in mixing my own watercolours to sell. It will be the 8 colours that I use, you know, like cadmium yellow, lemon yellow, cadmium red, cerulean, crimson, ultramarine, burnt sienna, yellow ochre. So that's those 8. Plus, there will be special mixes that I use, like a spring green, a summer green, an autumn green, and shadow colour. And the idea behind that is it's not to stop you from learning how to mix, it's just to stop you from using up loads of your other colours to try and get those which we use a lot. So once I get underway, those sets will be ready. It's the dry, they take such a long time to dry. Maybe by the end of this month. And I might sell them loose. They're all Sennelier pigment and they're all transparent or semi-transparent, so you get really nice vibrant pigments, but they're all very watercolory. So that's something really fun. Just another thing that we're doing. I do wonder sometimes how we manage to fit everything in that we do in the very small space that we've got. And obviously our classes haven't restarted in face-to-face form yet, so that's going to be even more interesting to know how we're going to fit all that in. Sure, we'll find a way. And hello to you if you are watching on catch up, wherever and whenever you are. Thank you for joining us. Quite a nice scene today. As I say, you get to 1:45 to get your drawing. My horizon line's not very straight though. Maybe I've only got a massive ruler. Let me just straighten that up there. Trying to do things freehand. That's better. Gosh, that really wasn't very straight. Like a banana. Sorry, I'm distracting you. I'll shut up for a bit now. Impossible. And once you've drawn, let me know you've drawn. But I am going to start at 1:45 regardless. Creaky chair. Honestly, it's not my bones, I promise. Right. Got my 3 brushes ready. Da, 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 da. One more minute and then we're going to slosh the paint. Well, we're not going to. Well, we might slosh it. Okie dokie, pig in a pokey. Sky first. As I say, I don't want to make this really hard for you. A nice relaxing picture. I also don't want to get my brush in my tea. At the shop, it's fine because on my table, I have a spare section for my cup on my left-hand side because I drink left-handed, even though I'm right-handed, because I don't get my water jar mixed up with my tea. However, here, I'm on an old school desk with a slope, so I can't actually put fluids on here. I have got space for a cup, but I honestly... it's about 30-degree angle. I don't think I can do it now. I won't. I'll just have to try and be careful. Right, wet your squirrel or your brush. Just wet your brush. You may not have a squirrel. You may not be as lucky as me to have a lovely, cute squirrel that shaved a bit of its bum off for me to use. Anyway, just wet your sky. Stop being stupid, Barry. Now, I tend to have more water higher up than I do lower down because of being on a slope. But as you will paint, it shouldn't. What I do shouldn't affect how it looks for you. Right, so we're going to go with a bit of a mix of cerulean and ultramarine. I think I will use cerulean today. In fact, what's interesting is cerulean blue and ultramarine mixed in equal measure gives you cobalt blue. And you might think, well, why not use cobalt blue? Well, I haven't got any cobalt blue, and also, if I can make something that looks like cobalt blue out of the two blues I've already got, why would I need to? Okay, slosh, slosh, slosh. I want a nice billowy cloud. I'm actually creating a billow. I might have a bit of a... Maybe I've got a bit of something up here as well. If you're a bit gung-ho with your colour, because you might be, you want more ultramarine up the top end. And more cerulean down the bottom end. It's just the way that skies work. Or you could just have a good equal mix. Like that. Now, I'm going to use some of this, move it over. Because skies have to be done quickly, don't forget. Then we can relax. As if I'll let you do that. And a little bit of cadmium red in there. So it goes more of a blue-grey. And a bit more water. And I just want to... I don't want it to feel tempestuous. I've said that word quite a lot the other day. I don't know why. Maybe I'm in my tempestuous period of painting. Ah, yes, you can see that Barry was feeling very tempestuous by his use of grey in the sky. If I've got any hard edges, I need to dry it out. Now, don't forget, watercolour's dry, 30% lighter. So therefore that means it's not going to look as vicious. Hopefully. I kind of like that, you know. I'm off to Wales next Sunday. It's a bit of a trek. I have to swing by Telford to pick brother deer up as well. I'll be stuck in a car with him for 2.5 hours. The things we do, hey. But anyway, I'm off to West Wales, like northwest Wales. Because next weekend is, I don't really say this cheerfully, but it's the anniversary of my mum's death, and every year my brother-in-law, my sister, and I go to my mum's favourite beach and spend a day together, because none of us live close to each other, so it's just nice to do, you know. I'm going to let that dry and see how that looks. I'm fairly pleased with it, I think. Maybe I want a bit of grey up here. I haven't got my hairdryer plugged in today, so whatever goes on has to stay. I'm going to create an extra layer of cloud there, maybe. An extra bit there. Yeah. I do like my brother really, but he's just a bit of a handful. He's the oldest as well. But he acts like he's still 15. Right, let that dry. See how that goes. Ah, actually, you know what? I can see a cauliflower there. Let me swoop in with a bit of water. Whew, rescued it. Phew. Sometimes with watercolour um, you can't really tell how it will go until it starts to dry, and whether I need to add more in. It's very sunny here in the dining room window, which is unusual for a Sunday morning, but that's good. We want it to feel light, and the lightest bit actually we want is going to be in the sea, and the reflected sand, so the wet sand is going to be quite nice. And I want to keep this grey, purple grey, and the blue. Keep it on my tile, but we'll just let it dry. Still, I need it to be dry down the horizon line, otherwise we can't really do the mountain or the sea. So it's fine to wait. It's 5 to 11. I like to have half of the picture done by um, within the first half an hour. I like to have at least the sky done. So that's good. We're doing all right. Everything's fine. I'm a bit hay feverish this morning. I apologise if I sniff. Well, it looks like it's almost drying on the horizon line, so that's really, really positive. Right, I'm going to do little bits, because there is little bits. I'm going to go with cadmium yellow, use a number 4 round brush, and a little bit of cerulean. And I call this my summer green. I'm just going to plop that on this bit. I wish I could remember where this photo was, what cliffs, and I just can't, so sorry about that. So cadmium yellow and cerulean, about equal quantity. Right. That's drying quite quickly compared to the rest of it, so that's really interesting. So we want to create the element of sort of that misty feel at the base, which is bluer. Yet the mountain, well, the cliffside is actually more purple, isn't it? Oh, it's going to bong. I'll just tell me. Sorry, I got all the clocks bonging, so I thought I'd just turn my mic off for a second. Okay, so we want this misty feel. I am actually going to dampen the cliff, mainly towards the base. Drop in some of the sky colour at the bottom here. And then I want to mix ultramarine and cadmium red. To make a nice purple. I'm making a right mess here, my pans are sticky. That's too much red. That'll do. Right, okay. So I want this nice and dark at the top. But to sort of blend in with this mist below. Now I'm just blocking in for a minute and not all of this, just some of the main elements. And swooping in with my number 4 round. To try and roll and blend this together. Now you could easily just add a bit more ultramarine to the bottom of this just to make it blend and feel a little bit more misty. You want to try and keep yourself a flat line towards the bottom end, just where it meets the ocean. Something like that. If you feel you've got too much colour, you can always roll a clean damp brush in. Now obviously I've got more issues here because I'm on a slope. I've flicked some paint as well in the sky. I should have just left it because now I'm creating massive problems for myself. Right. I think that's alright. So now I want to use the purple colour for a bit more detail. Sort of gives the illusion of stuff happening on the edge here, so it's not a big solid line of just green. So it will sort of mix with some of the green on here and go a sort of browny grey colour. You want to try and create yourself a nice hard edge where it meets the sky, because that's practically silhouetted, so that is important. Got Hey Mr. Blue Sky in my head at a minute. Funny. Okay. I may do a sort of purpley wash on that section of green when it dries, but I'm not in any rush. So I'll have to dry a little bit more. looks alright. It's looking okay at the moment, so I'm fairly pleased with it. I just think some of that green is a bit too in your face, but I can't do anything with it while it's wet. A lot of this is about layers. I think this is looking alright so far. It'll all be about the contrast, you see, in this area. But I think that some of that green is a little bit too vibrant. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit purple on my number 4 round. Create a glaze. This is where I allow you to get glazed over. Like that. Okay, so we'll work on the C, which is just going to be that really thin strip there, not the wet sand. Because we need the white bits, you know? We need the waves, which it's going to be a bit dry brush-like, I think. To a degree, anyway. So, to get it to feel like the sea up that end, I'm going to use some of this sky colour and add a little bit of that green that we've got up there, just to make it go a little bit more teal. I might throw in a bit of that purple. Oh, yes, look at that. It's a lovely sea colour. Right, so I want to do my horizon in this colour. And for some reason I've got too much water on my brush, so it won't dry brush, so I'm going to have to just miss out the colour. So it's going to be sort of stripy. If you can do this with dry brush, you're amazing. And I'm very jealous of you. And my nose keeps. I'm very close to the picture at the minute because I can't say. My nose keeps smacking off the microphone, so I do apologise. We're very professional here, you know. Don't want loads of white, so fill in some bits. Might even do some slightly darker lines with this sort of teal colour. If I had a bit more blue and a bit of purple, I can do the underside of each wave. So it sort of creates a bit of shadow, and it feels like you've actually got crashing waves, maybe. Got to do a Zoom this week with a WI group. I normally do, well, I'm doing fewer and fewer now, not as I get older, because I'm not old at all, but it's really difficult. I've found before lockdown I was spreading myself far too thinly, and it was making me quite ill, to be honest. I was doing 72 hours a week, and although I enjoy everything I do, I was getting absolutely no downtime whatsoever. You know, because I'd be teaching classes at the shop. I'd be doing about 30 to 40 a month at the shop, running the shop. I sing, so I've got my singing gigs. Thankfully, I'm not that good, so I don't get that many singing gigs. And I was teaching in 2 additional art groups within a 15-mile radius twice a week, so I was having to go there. I was also giving talks and talks and demonstrations to WI and Art Society groups. And then when lockdown hit, I ended up having none, and I had a sort of enforced rest, other than just teaching online. And I don't think my body will allow me to go back to do 72 hours a week again, and part of me doesn't want it. So I'm slowly cutting back everything apart from what I do at the shop, which I know will be a shame for some of the groups I work with. But I found I can't be everywhere, and I can't do everything. So yeah, I'm having to sort of slow down a little bit, which it does feel a bit odd, if I'm honest. Ooh, headbutted the camera. I will do some darker bits, but they don't need to come into play just yet. You could add, well, you could add some purple. Little bits of purple along the mid area where it's slightly sandier. I'm going to let that dry. I think we could stop for coffee now. So what, 5 minutes? And then we'll carry on with the rest of it. And we should finish probably in an hour or less, I reckon. So I'll see you in 5. I won't be back in an hour, I mean I'll be back in 5. Anyway, you know what I mean. I'm back. Oh, right. Now, what we want to do, we want to create this wet sand feel. So I just need to make sure my bigger brush is cleaned. And I am going to just go in with the blue, the sky blue. I'm going to start. Doesn't matter about the whole of this bottom area. Can be covered. And we start on the left and we bring it across to the... Start on the right, bring it across to the left. I'm going to go a little bit darker. So a bit more blue, maybe a little bit of the purple in there. Just to help us get a little bit of variation and an idea that the light is sort of coming from the left. Well, I can't tell actually. Maybe it's coming from the right. You know what I mean. We want a light patch on the left hand side regardless. In fact, it probably is coming from the right because of the cliffs. The light will be this area that we're painting at the moment with the darker colour will be in shadow because of the cliffs, whereas the lighter area will be that section. Put a little bit of this in here in that back area as well. You want it just to feel nice and light. Keep your brush strokes fairly horizontal if you can. Sort of disappeared down here. I wanted a little bit of blue, even in a few random places. That'll do, I think. Just drop it in places while it's dampish. So it feels like wet sand. Right, that's got to dry now. I said today's about a lot of drying. That's gone a bit cauliflowerish. Let me try and... That's right, I've got a line there. That's better. Just soften it out with a bit of an edge. This is gonna look quite nice, you know. It is gonna look quite nice. be lots of little things going on down here as well to give the idea of light, so that needs to be really dry. And it's not even something I've drawn in, but because we can kind of move around it, but it has to be done before the purples go in. Because it's all those little golden, well, there will be sort of like purpley stones, won't they? But they're going to be, they're sunlit, so actually we have got a point of reference for the light. The light is coming that way. Now, if you look at the two little men, now I'm not sure if I go to a bigger reference how well I can zoom in on this. And you might think, well, if we look at the figures, there's no, well, you might say the shadows are coming straight down, but actually that's a reflection. There is no shadow on our figures. A reflection is always mirror image, regardless of where the light is coming from. So if there was a strong light coming from the right, really strong, there would be shadows going towards the left, but the reflection of the figures would always be mirror image. So reflection and shadow are very different things altogether. They're not related. You can have both reflection and shadow on an object, and they're not going to go in the same direction. So if you think, I don't know, there's not really a way I can act it out. But reflections never ever change. They are always a mirror image. And the more you look at things more clearly and more intently, the more you see how much mirror image is vital to get your reflection. Because I see a lot of, I'm going to say amateur, I don't like using the word amateur, but I see a lot of amateur paintings where the reflections are leaning because they try to tie the reflection and the shadow into one element, and they're two totally separate elements. Elephants. Reflection and shadow are not the same at all, never will be. So I thought I'd make that clear. Do you know, I'm going to draw some of these stones in now this is dry. Flat bottomed ones. Triangular pieces. Have a bit of a gap. Only big ones. I've got no intention in doing small ones because I'm going to show you how we can create small stones. I think they're standing out, aren't they? You can just about see that. I'll give you a minute or two to draw those in. Are you enjoying it? How's it looking so far, Janet? Would you ask you that at this point? Yeah. Right, now I'm going to get a bit of the card yellow, a little bit of the card red. Oh, that's too much card red. You want more card yellow than card red. So it goes orange, but then I want to dull it down, and the way you dull orange down is with blue, because they're opposite each other on the colour wheel. So a little bit of ultramarine will make a nice dull orange brown colour, which is perfect for these stones. And you don't have to fill all of them in, you just fill the right hand side. So I'm rubbish with my left and rights, and I don't know why. I shouldn't be. I know I'm right-handed, yet it still is a problem. So I'm actually now going to use this orange brown to do smaller dots and pebbles, just using pressure from my brush. So we have to be careful that to make not every stone and every pebble the same size or shape. So wiggle your brush a little bit. Yeah, something like that will do. This also helps get a bit of distance and depth in, because we've got warmer colours at the foreground, and when you use more oranges and browns in the foreground, it gives more depth and distance. And since most of this photograph is sort of more subdued purples, greys and blues, having this little shot of golden colour at the foreground will really help give the scene a lot more distance than you would think. So that's got to dry, and then we can start thinking about the purple browns of the foreground. I'm going to go more purple in the background though for the sand there, but for the mid purples I'm going to make it more of a brown, so we know. Well, I can talk to you about that actually. I ought to just have a random colour wheel knocking about. I probably have somewhere, but I don't know if I can do it on here. Oh no, not that bit. Let's want to remove that for a second, and bear with me. I'm doing something that I shouldn't be faffing about with. I'm just clicking things. Hang on, hang on. We get in there, we get in there. We get in there. Yeah, we got a sort of colour wheel up. Now, let me get an arrow. Oh, it's the wrong way around. I'm sorry, I should have got all of this ready before, but I didn't know I was going to talk about it. There we go. Right, so when we're looking at the colour wheel, got there eventually. Technology is wonderful, isn't it? So when we're looking at dulling colours down, because I've said this twice today, so this is a really useful skill. So this is why I've added a little bit of extra time for this. When you want to dull a colour down, you use the opposite colour in the colour wheel. So if we want what we were doing down, we were doing orange down first. So if we look at our orange here, opposite orange is blue. And that's what we did, isn't it? We added a bit of ultramarine to our orange mix to dull it down. If we've got purple and we want to dull it down or make brown, there's our purple. We go lemon yellow or any yellow, cadmium yellow in this case. So if we add yellow to purple, we'll get more of a brown colour. Same goes with red and green. So when you add a tiny bit of that opposite colour, they're called complementary opposites. When you add a tiny bit of that opposite, you will dull it down. Some watercolourists call this knocking back, because you just knock back the colour. If you add a lot of that opposite, you will always get brown, and it will depend. You will get different shades of brown, whether you're adding yellow to purple, red to green, or blue to orange. Hopefully that has made a little bit more sense, and it would have been helpful. I'm going to keep that on there now forever and a day, because it will be really useful when I do more talks and lessons from home in the future, and I will try and add it to the one at the shop as well. Right, I'm making some purple from ultramarine and cadmium red. And I do want to add this now. Don't forget we want to make this bit look like it's just wet sand. So we'll be doing a bit of dry brush on this bit. Dry brush, notoriously difficult to do, even if you've been painting for billions of years. Just adds a little nod that we know that this is sand, but it's wet. Switch to my little thin brush though, so I can paint my figures. And then more of a wiggly, long reflection. And you can make more pebbles and stones with a smaller brush as well. Try and make them a little bit darker. More so the figure than the reflection. I don't mind the reflection being. Oh gosh. He's I slipped with my brush then and he had an extra leg. Right, I think that's alright for the figures. Yeah. I think a purpley brown next will make a big difference to the foreground, and it'll bring it forward, which is exactly what we want to do. We'll let that dry for a minute. I'm still concerned that my green at the back is too vibrant. Basically, how I work that out is if I relax my vision and something stands out that shouldn't, that's when I know I still need to do a bit of work to dull it down. So I might still put a bit more great purple on it. probably, you know what, I'm going to put my squirrel away. It'll stop me from reaching out to it, because it's basically going to be a number 4 round and possibly the smaller one for the rest of it. Let me have some tea. Don't forget, if you made some tea, don't forget to drink it. So we're going to go, I'm going to have that, I've got that purple there. Now, looking at what we said about our chart, if I add cadmium yellow to it, it will remain purple. I will dull the purple down, but also make it slightly more brownish. And that, my dear students, is exactly what we want to do. Add little and often. And it can be slightly broken. That works, doesn't it? So I'm going to work on the left hand side now. More solid where it is solid. And then I'm not going to worry if it does create more dry brush as it gets towards the centre. We can even do that, can't we, with as the brush gets drier. We can start to add extra texture. So I want to put in this, and I am having to go around some of these rocks, but that's the nature of watercolour. There is, you know, you might go, well, is there a way around not having to paint around all of this? There is, but it won't. It's not time saving. What you could do is you could put masking fluid over each bit that you want to paint over or paint around. So you'd use a mask include pen, probably be easier to do that. But as I say, there is no guarantee that it will work really well. It will protect it a little bit, but when you rub the masking fluid off, you could also end up rubbing off some of the orange colour. So it's not a fail-safe. And basically I'm going to be using some of this to also create some darker pebbles and stones in amongst them, so they're not all golden. And it creates sort of pool areas. That's what I want to get the illusion of. So technically this is negative painting because we're painting the space around an object rather than painting the object. But we have got the object already drawn in or painted in, so it's not to the same degree as negative painting that everybody tends to feel they should be scared of. But when you're drawing or watercolouring, it's all about negative space because you're working from light to dark. I just want to make a slightly darker purple, more blue. Although my cadmium red in this set I've got here at home is really strong, so and basically I want to put the darks on the left and base of each stone. Well, I was going to turn my mic off for a minute. It's right, I know not everybody's a fan of clocks. You can tell I am. I think I need to break up some of this in some of the space, some of the white space. I've got too much of it. I will be able to tell you that next month is quite beautiful, but quite labour intensive. So will probably take a bit longer next month rather. It swings and roundabouts with watercolours. And obviously if I'd got more of you live, you'd be asking more questions, and that takes time too. Possibly next month will be in real life as well as recorded, or streamed live rather. We are hoping, as long as things stay safe, we are hoping to reopen our classroom for a lot of classes from the end of this month. Now I can't really say, you know, from my point of view, we're not through this third wave. And from listening to some scientists and experts, they're quite uncertain about full opening. So I'm adding a bit of orange into my purple there just to get a bit more brown back. So I'm going to be very cautious with reopening the classroom. However, reopening means that there is no more government, you know, once we're allowed to fully reopen, there will be no more government funding, no more support. So we have to make our living now. We have to make our business work for us. So that does actually sadly mean whether I want to reopen the classroom or not, I've got to, because the classes are where the money is. Well, it makes it sound like we make a lot of money. We don't. However, we do make slightly more than just live streaming. So we're going to have to consider how we can effectively and safely reopen the classroom. So it will be on half students, so there will only be 5 students in each class, which will give everybody 4 feet of space on a desk, 4 feet desks with one person in. Well, one person won't have 4 feet of space, one person will only have 2.5 to 3 feet of space, because we don't physically have that space in the building. But we'll make it as safe as possible for everybody, and we will be promoting it once we've got a little bit more full definition of how we're going to make it work. So that's quite something nice to look forward to, with some normality, but we will still be getting you all to hand sanitize and all of that kind of thing, and track and trace app, etc. Well, I don't need to necessarily do that because I take a register anyway, so I know who's in our classes. You know, I don't think I can do any more to this. The only things I would do possibly to this is maybe use some gel pen for some white waves, but I've left quite a lot of white space. I could use some of this purple grey. To help create that divide between the waves and the wet sand, with a slight outline and a softer base melted in. Clean brush, so it's not just an outline. You know, I've enjoyed that. It's been a nice relaxing morning, hasn't it? And I don't know whether you're painting along or maybe watching now, painting later. Just take my pins out so you can see what's going on. That's that's nice. It gives a nice representation of that scene, even though my sky is totally different. Ah, thank you, Janet. You can definitely come again. I'll just give you a quick run through of what's coming up this week. Tomorrow morning, streamed live and from Wardington Village Hall, we have a Majestic Lion in pencil. Monday evening is doing a watercolour theme of sunlight and shadows in a room inspired by the work of Edward Hopper. Tuesday afternoon is a misty backlit row of trees and acrylics. Tuesday evening is drawing, and we are doing bluebells in the foreground with a bit of a building and statue in the background in the distance. Wednesday afternoon's drawing class is Broadway Tower. Thursday morning, Art for the Anxious, a lovely rural view in acrylics. Thursday afternoon is a boat on a still lake with billowing clouds in watercolour. Friday afternoon is watercolour again, sunset over an empty beach. There is nothing on Saturday and Sunday next week because our next Saturday class is actually a free class, a free paint along 11 till 12:30 on the shop's Facebook page. It's also watercolour, and it's a child on the beach in Wellies in watercolour 11 till 12:30, and that's on our shop page, and it's one of our free paint along sessions. We try to do about 4 a year now. We were doing 1 a month during lockdowns, but obviously it's not really cost effective for me to do lots of free classes because it means I don't earn any money from them. But we are doing one on the 24th of July, 11 till 12:30 on the shop page. So there's lots of things coming up next week. And, well, I'm in the shop on Saturday, Janet. I'm in the shop on Saturday, and then on Sunday I'm driving to Wales. So it'll be a long day on Sunday. I'll be leaving about 6:30, 7, and I won't be getting home till about 9 o'clock in the evening. So it's a long old day, but it'd be nice to go to the beach, take some photographs, and see my family. So that'll be really lovely. But yes, a week off from teaching, which is wonderful. Maybe on Saturday, if the shop's quiet, I can grind some more watercolours and make them up. That'd be quite nice to do. So that's it. Yeah, full on week. And the next Sunday monthly class is the 8th of August, and it's a roe deer in a field. So isn't that lovely? Lots to look forward to. Thank you so much for your company today, and if you're doing this online at a later date on Catch Up, please post what you do, because I am really interested in seeing how you create this. I will take a photograph of this and post it underneath the reference image as soon as this finishes. And I will see you all soon. Have a wonderful Sunday, what's left of it. Have a nice afternoon. Maybe somebody's cooking you a roast, or maybe you're going out for a roast. That'll be nice, won't it? So take care. Stay safe, please. It's still a wacky world out there. So stay safe, look after yourselves, and hope to see you all very soon. Don't forget, our online shop is open 24/7 from thearteryonline.com. No postage and packaging to mainland UK, no minimum order. Or you can call in the shop Tuesdays to Saturdays 10 till 4, because we've got a lot more things in store for you there. And keep your eye out for when our classroom reopens, and our new watercolours that we're making. Lots of exciting things in the pipeline. So see you soon. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye.